Every great transformation begins with a thought, and every downfall does too, which is why the very first truth to live by is that your thoughts are not small, they are not fleeting, and they are not harmless. They are the most powerful forces in your life, shaping everything you will ever do or fail to do. Scientists have shown us through neuroscience that the brain is not fixed, it is plastic, constantly rewiring itself based on the thoughts you repeat. Each thought you choose to entertain creates new neural pathways, and the more often you return to that thought, the stronger the pathway becomes until it shapes not just your thinking, but your behavior, your habits, and your character. Cognitive behavioral therapy, one of the most widely practiced and evidence-based forms of psychology, is built on this very principle. Change your thoughts and you change your feelings. Change your feelings and you change your actions. And change your actions and you change your life. Yet outside of therapy rooms and neuroscience labs, this truth often gets ignored. People underestimate the weight of their inner dialogue, brushing it off as harmless chatter, not realizing that the chatter becomes commands, and the commands shape destiny. Think about this in your own life. How many times have you talked yourself out of something before it even began? You told yourself you weren't ready, and so you never started. You told yourself it was too risky, and so you stayed put. You told yourself you weren't worthy, and so you didn't try. Those weren't just random words. They were thoughts that created reality by shutting down possibility. On the other side, think of the times when one thought carried you forward. Perhaps it was the thought, "I can handle this," in the middle of a stressful situation, and somehow you did. Perhaps it was the thought, "There's a way," when every door seemed closed and suddenly you noticed an opening you had ignored. A single thought can change the entire trajectory of your life, because thoughts are the beginning of everything. History is proof of this. The idea that humans could fly was once laughed at, but the Wright brothers refused to let go of the thought, and that thought became an invention that reshaped the world. Nelson Mandela endured 27 years in prison, and while his body was caged, his mind was free, because he held the thought of freedom and justice so strongly that when he was released, he became the leader who changed his nation. Martin Luther King Jr. stood on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial and ignited millions, not with money, not with force, but with a thought so clear and so powerful that he called it a dream. And the dream became a movement that transformed history. On a smaller scale, look at entrepreneurs who turned setbacks into success. Before there was Apple, there was Steve Jobs sitting in a garage with nothing but the thought that technology could be beautiful, simple, and accessible. Before there was Amazon, Jeff Bezos had nothing but the thought that books could be sold online. And that thought expanded until it became the largest marketplace in history. Every empire begins with a thought. Every collapse begins with one too, because destructive thoughts are just as powerful as empowering ones. The thought, "It's hopeless," can end a career before it begins.
The thought, "I'll never change," can trap someone in destructive patterns for a lifetime. The thought, "I am worthless," can spiral into depression and despair. Thoughts are invisible, but they are not neutral. They either create or destroy. They either build you up or tear you down. They either open doors or slam them shut. This is why the first step in mastering your life is mastering your mind. You must become the gatekeeper of your thoughts, refusing to let weeds of negativity overrun the garden of your mind. Imagine your brain as fertile soil. Whatever you plant, grows. If you plant doubt, you will harvest hesitation. If you plant fear, you will harvest paralysis. If you plant anger, you will harvest conflict. But if you plant courage, you will harvest resilience. If you plant gratitude, you will harvest joy. If you plant determination, you will harvest victory. The soil doesn't choose, it will grow whatever seed you give it. So you must choose carefully, deliberately, relentlessly. This is not just philosophy, it is biology. Neuroplasticity shows that every repeated thought becomes easier for the brain to think again. This is why negative thinking feels so automatic for some people. They've trained their brain to run those patterns like grooves in a road. But the miracle is that the brain can be rewired. New grooves can be carved. A person who has lived decades in negative thought can, through deliberate practice, reshape their mind into one of resilience and optimism. It takes discipline, but it is possible, and it begins with one decision: to no longer accept every thought that passes through your head as truth, but to challenge, to choose, and to cultivate the thoughts that serve your highest good. You are not your thoughts, but your thoughts will shape you if you let them. To live by this first thought means to take full responsibility for the content of your mind. It means catching yourself when you say, "I can't," and replacing it with, "I will find a way." It means noticing when you repeat, "I always fail," and changing it to, "I am learning, I am growing." It means refusing to let the voices of doubt, whether from within or from others, dictate your direction. It means realizing that your most powerful weapon in life is not money, not talent, not connections. It is thought. Guard it, direct it, train it, because when you do, you gain the power to change not just your own life, but the lives of everyone you touch. The person who masters their thoughts becomes unstoppable because no matter what comes from the outside, they know the real battle is won on the inside. And once you win that battle, the rest of life begins to follow.
Life always offers two directions: downward into despair, self-doubt, and resignation, or upward into resilience, determination, and growth. And the second thought to live by is that every day, in every moment, you hold the power to lift yourself higher by the thoughts you choose. Most people don't realize this. They let thoughts of fear, limitation, or negativity drag them down like invisible weights, telling themselves, "I'll never make it. I'm not good enough. This is just who I am." And those thoughts pull them into cycles of inaction, procrastination, and surrender. But those who rise, those who achieve, those who inspire, all share the same secret. They refuse to let their minds sink, and instead, they deliberately choose thoughts that elevate them above their circumstances. This isn't blind optimism. It is conscious mental discipline, a resilience practice rooted in psychology. Research in positive psychology and resilience studies shows that people who adopt upward-focused thinking, framing adversity as challenge rather than catastrophe, recover faster from setbacks, show greater persistence and long-term goals, and even display stronger immune function under stress. It's not magic, it's mindset. Take the work of Martin Seligman, the father of positive psychology, who demonstrated that optimism, defined as the habit of expecting good outcomes and interpreting setbacks as temporary rather than permanent, correlated strongly with success in everything from academics to sports to leadership. Optimistic thinkers literally live longer, perform better, and suffer less depression because their thoughts lift them higher, and the upward lift produces real-world results. You can see this principle everywhere. Athletes who come back from devastating injuries often tell the same story. The turning point wasn't the surgery or the rehab program, it was the moment they shifted their thoughts from "I'll never play again" to "I will come back stronger." That single upward thought changes how they approach training, how they endure pain, and how they envision their future. Consider Michael Jordan, who was cut from his high school basketball team, an obstacle that could have crushed him, but instead he thought, "I'll work harder." And that thought carried him into becoming one of the greatest athletes of all time. Or Oprah Winfrey, who grew up in poverty and endured countless hardships, but who kept telling herself she was destined for something greater, and that thought lifted her from obscurity to global influence. The truth is, adversity comes for everyone, but only some rise from it, and the difference lies in their thoughts. Negative thinking in hard times is like being stuck in quicksand. The more you struggle with those downward beliefs, the deeper you sink. But positive, upward-focused thoughts are like grabbing a branch above you, giving you leverage to pull yourself out. This doesn't mean ignoring pain or pretending everything is fine. It means choosing not to stay at the level of the problem, but instead to lift your thinking to the level of the solution. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, embodied this principle. Surrounded by unimaginable suffering,
He observed that those who survived weren't the strongest physically, but those who maintained thoughts of purpose and meaning. In his words, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. That shift in thought, lifting one's mind above despair into purpose, literally determined survival. So how do you apply this in daily life? It begins with awareness. Notice the moments when your thoughts sink, when you tell yourself, "I can't handle this. This always happens to me," or "It's not worth trying." Then intervene, deliberately replacing those thoughts with ones that lift. "I've handled challenges before, and I will handle this. This is preparing me for something bigger." Or, "I may not control everything, but I can control my response." Over time, these replacements become automatic, and your mental altitude rises naturally. Pair this with small rituals. Begin each day by asking, "What thought will lift me today?" When facing difficulty, pause and ask, "What's the higher thought here?" This isn't forced positivity, it's strategic elevation. The science of cognitive reframing backs this up. By reinterpreting situations in a more empowering way, you train your brain to respond differently, reducing stress and increasing resilience. Every time you choose an upward thought, you strengthen neural pathways of resilience, making it easier to rise the next time life pushes you down. The truth is, external events may try to hold you back, but no one can stop you from lifting your own mind. And when your thoughts rise, everything else eventually follows. Your actions gain strength, your decisions gain clarity, your energy gains power, and your life begins to reflect the altitude of your mind. The world cannot drag down a person who has trained their thoughts to lift them higher.
The third thought to live by is understanding that real, lasting change begins not with action, but with thought. Because actions are only the surface, while thoughts are the roots. And if you want to shape positive change in your life, you must begin with the roots, or else everything you build will wither. Most people try to change by forcing behavior, starting a diet, committing to a new routine, pushing themselves through sheer willpower. But unless their thoughts shift, the change rarely lasts, because they are still carrying the same old beliefs that created the old habits in the first place. You cannot out-discipline a destructive thought. You cannot white-knuckle your way into transformation while your inner voice is still whispering, "This won't last, I always fail, I don't deserve this." The mind must change first. Psychology and behavioral science confirm this truth. James Clear in Atomic Habits shows that habits are not about what you do, but about who you believe you are. When you change the thought, "I'm trying to quit smoking," into "I am not a smoker," the action naturally follows. Neuroscience tells us that visualizing new behaviors, holding thoughts of yourself succeeding, thriving, improving, activates the same neural pathways as actually doing the thing, priming the brain to make the change real. Olympic athletes practice this all the time, spending hours visualizing perfect performances, so that when they step onto the track or into the arena, their body simply follows the thought pattern already rehearsed in the mind. You can use the same principle in your own life. Want to get fit? Begin with the thought, "I am someone who values my health," and repeat it until every choice bends toward that identity. Want to start a business? Begin with the thought, "I am a creator, a problem solver, a builder," and let that thought drive you to see opportunities others overlook. Positive change becomes inevitable when you feed the right thoughts.
This doesn't mean ignoring effort. Action matters, but action sustained by new thought is unstoppable, while action fighting against old thought burns out quickly. Look at people who reinvent themselves, recovering addicts, people who turned poverty into prosperity, individuals who rebuilt their lives after tragedy. The turning point in every story is the moment their thoughts shifted. They stopped telling themselves the old story, "I'm broken, I'm hopeless, I'm stuck," and started telling a new one, "I can rise, I can learn, I can change." That single shift in thought became the foundation of an entirely new life. This is how positive change works, not in a sudden leap, but in daily, deliberate choices to hold better thoughts. Each time you replace "I can't" with "I will," each time you replace "I'm stuck" with "I'm growing," you are rewiring your brain, carving new grooves in the road, laying down new tracks that eventually become the default path your mind follows. Over time, change that once felt impossible becomes natural, automatic, inevitable. The challenge is that many people wait for proof before they allow the thought. They say, "I'll believe I can change once I see results," but that's backward. You'll never see results until you first allow the thought. The proof always follows the belief, not the other way around. Living by this third thought means committing to feed your mind with the story of who you want to be, even before you have the evidence. It means affirming, "I am disciplined," long before the habit is consistent. It means declaring, "I am capable," long before the world acknowledges it. It means shaping your inner world until your outer world has no choice but to catch up. Positive change is possible for anyone, but it is inevitable only for those who master their thoughts. Because the mind is the soil, and the life is the harvest, and you will always reap what you plant. Plant better thoughts, and your life will grow into something extraordinary.
Every life will be tested by obstacles, and the fourth thought to live by is that obstacles are not barriers to your path. They are the path, shaping you into the person capable of reaching the destination you dream of. Most people see obstacles as signs that they should quit, interpreting every difficulty as proof that success is not meant for them. They ask, "Why is this happening to me?" and sink into self-pity, never realizing that the very thing standing in their way is the thing designed to strengthen them. The Stoic philosophers of ancient Rome taught this principle clearly. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This mindset reframes obstacles not as roadblocks, but as raw materials for growth, opportunities to practice resilience, patience, creativity, and courage. Modern psychology echoes the same truth. Carol Dweck's research on growth mindset shows that people who interpret challenges as chances to grow perform better, endure longer, and achieve more than those who see challenges as threats. The obstacle itself doesn't decide the outcome. The thought you choose about it does. Consider Thomas Edison, who failed thousands of times while attempting to invent the light bulb. To most people, this would have been evidence of impossibility, but Edison reframed each failure as feedback, famously saying, "I have not failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That thought turned obstacles into stepping stones, and the world was changed because of it. Or think of Nelson Mandela, imprisoned for 27 years under brutal conditions. For most, this obstacle would have been crushing, yet Mandela used the time to strengthen his mind, deepen his resolve, and prepare for leadership. When he emerged, he didn't return bitter or broken. He returned with vision and grace, guiding South Africa into a new era. Closer to daily life, imagine the student who fails an exam. One thought says, "I'm stupid, I'll never succeed," and the obstacle ends their effort. Another thought says, "This shows me what I need to learn," and the obstacle fuels improvement until the student excels. The obstacle is the same, the outcome is different, because the thought is different. Living by this fourth thought means adopting the identity of someone who sees obstacles as training. Athletes already understand this. They willingly put themselves under strain, knowing that resistance builds muscle. Entrepreneurs understand this too. Every failed product launch, every financial setback, every rejection is a test. And those who persist with the thought that each challenge is growth eventually build companies that transform industries. Military leaders also know it. Soldiers train in harsh conditions so that when real obstacles arise, they are not shocked, they are prepared. You can adopt the same thought in your own challenges. The next time you face financial stress, career setbacks, health struggles, or broken relationships, pause and remind yourself This is not here to stop me. This is here to shape me. Ask yourself, what strength is this obstacle asking me to build? Patience, creativity, persistence, faith. Then carry that thought into your response. Obstacles are powerful precisely because they hurt, because they test you, but that is their purpose. They strip away weakness and reveal strength. Over time, each obstacle you endure becomes proof to yourself that you can handle more, and this builds a reservoir of confidence that nothing can shake. The mountain does not shrink, but your capacity grows, and one day you look back and realize that the mountain that once terrified you is now the foundation of your strength. This is the gift of obstacles. They are not punishments, they are teachers. And the thought that transforms them is the thought that says, this is not the end of me, this is the making of me.
Happiness is the most sought-after treasure and yet the most misunderstood because so many chase it in the wrong places, believing it can be bought, achieved, or stumbled upon. When in truth, lasting happiness is not an accident of circumstance, but a discipline of thought. And the fifth thought to live by is that happiness is something you build from within, not something you wait for from without. Look at the world around you. People tie their happiness to milestones, the next promotion, the bigger house, the perfect partner, the applause of others. But when they arrive, the feeling fades quickly and they are left chasing the next thing. This is known in psychology as the hedonic treadmill, the phenomenon where external gains give only temporary joy before you adapt and need more. Lasting happiness cannot come from this treadmill. It must come from mastering your inner dialogue. The happiest people are not those with perfect lives, but those who train their thoughts to see what is good, hopeful, and abundant even when life is imperfect. Gratitude is one of the most powerful practices for this. Neuroscience shows that keeping a gratitude journal rewires the brain to scan for positives, strengthening neural pathways associated with joy. Each time you think, I am thankful for this moment, this person, this opportunity, you are literally reshaping your mind toward happiness. Mindfulness is another key. Most unhappiness comes from being stuck in yesterday's regrets or tomorrow's fears. But mindfulness, the practice of anchoring your thoughts in the present, returns you to the only place happiness can actually exist, here and now. This is why cultures around the world that emphasize presence, such as those practicing meditation or slow living, report higher happiness levels regardless of wealth. Consider Bhutan, which measures gross national happiness instead of GDP, focusing its society on well-being rather than pure economics. Or Denmark, famous for hygge, the art of simple comfort and presence in ordinary moments, which consistently ranks among the happiest countries in the world. The secret isn't that their lives are free of difficulty, but that their collective thoughts about life are shaped toward appreciation, balance, and presence. Living by this thought means refusing to postpone joy until everything is perfect, because everything will never be perfect. It means telling yourself, I can choose to find joy now, even here, even in this. It means realizing that happiness is less about getting what you want and more about wanting what you already have. Think of people you've seen who seem radiant despite hardship. They may have little money, but they laugh easily. They may face illness, but they speak with hope. They may have lost much, but they cling to gratitude. Their secret is not luck, it is thought. They have trained their minds to notice what lifts them instead of what drags them down. You can do the same, and when you do, you build a happiness that is unshakable because no one controls your thoughts except you. Of course, pain will come, obstacles will arise, storms will shake you. But living by this thought means anchoring yourself in gratitude, presence, and perspective so that the storm cannot steal your joy. Lasting happiness is not the absence of suffering, it is the refusal to let suffering erase your appreciation of life. And when you master that, you discover that happiness was never outside of you, it was always within your control, waiting for the right thought to unlock it.
The sixth thought to live by is that real success must be paired with fulfillment, because achievement without meaning is just another form of emptiness, and far too many people climb mountains only to discover they were climbing the wrong ones. Success is often defined by society's measures: money, status, recognition. But these alone cannot sustain the human spirit. You only need to look at the stories of celebrities, CEOs, and wealthy individuals who reached the so-called top and still found themselves restless, dissatisfied, or broken to understand this truth. True success is not only what you achieve, but how aligned those achievements are with your values, your purpose, and the kind of life you want to live. It is not just about having more, it is about being more. Psychologists like Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, who studied flow states, showed that fulfillment comes when we are deeply engaged in work that challenges and excites us, when our skills and passions align with meaningful goals. That's why people who may not be rich in material wealth often live lives of deep satisfaction, because their thoughts have shaped a definition of success that resonates with their core. Consider the teacher who measures success not by salary, but by the impact they have on young minds, or the artist who measures success not by fame, but by staying true to their creative vision. Their fulfillment is proof that success defined by others is fragile, but success defined by your own thoughts is lasting. To live by this sixth thought means to question the story you tell yourself about what it means to make it. If your thoughts are filled with comparisons, you will always feel behind, because there will always be someone with more. If your thoughts are filled with accumulation, you will never feel complete, because enough will never be enough. But when you shift your thoughts to ask, am I aligned? Am I living true to my principles, my passion, my purpose? Then even small victories feel profound, and fulfillment grows alongside achievement. Real-world examples prove this again and again. Look at entrepreneurs like Howard Schultz of Starbucks, who didn't just build a company to sell coffee, but built it around a vision of community, connection, and care for employees, and found fulfillment in aligning business with values. Or athletes like Serena Williams, who defines her success not only in trophies, but in the legacy of empowerment and inspiration she leaves behind. Their achievements are impressive, but their fulfillment comes from the meaning attached to them. This is the essence of the sixth thought, to direct your mind to seek not just more, but meaningful more. Practically, this means checking your goals against your values. When you set a target, ask yourself, will reaching this bring me closer to who I want to become, or just closer to someone else's idea of success? It means shaping your daily thoughts so that fulfillment is part of the journey, not just the destination. Tell yourself, I am grateful for progress today. I am aligned with my purpose. I am building a life that matters. And each day becomes part of success, not just the day you reach the milestone. Fulfillment is built in the present, in how you think about your path, not only in the final reward. This shift in thought is powerful because it makes success sustainable. People who chase hollow definitions burn out, but those who shape their thoughts around alignment, meaning, and contribution find energy to keep going because their actions feed their spirit. The truth is that success without fulfillment is failure in disguise, but success with fulfillment is the most powerful combination on earth. To live by this thought is to decide that you will not just achieve, you will thrive. You will not just accumulate, you will align. You will not just live, you will live meaningfully.
The final thought to live by is the commitment to becoming your best self, because in the end, that is the ultimate goal of all growth, to refuse to settle for average when greatness is within reach, to refuse to shrink when life demands expansion, and to refuse to let fear dictate the ceiling of your life. Becoming your best self is not about being perfect, it is not about being flawless, and it is certainly not about being better than anyone else. It is about refusing to live beneath your potential, refusing to waste the gifts, talents, and opportunities that are uniquely yours. Every day, you are either moving closer to or further from the best version of yourself, and the difference lies in your thoughts. When you think, this is good enough, I'll stay here, you drift into mediocrity. But when you think, I can grow, I can rise, I can do better, you begin shaping yourself into something greater. Personal development experts often say that growth must be intentional
and neuroscience backs it up. Your brain strengthens the connections you use most, so every time you think in terms of progress and possibility, you wire yourself closer to your best self. This is why deliberate reflection matters. Journaling about your growth, setting intentions, and consciously asking, "Who do I want to become?" shapes your thoughts into a compass that guides your behavior. Role models prove this in action. Think of figures like Maya Angelou, who turned hardship into wisdom and became her fullest self through writing, teaching, and speaking truth with power. Or think of Elon Musk, who, for all his flaws, shows what relentless vision and thought applied to action can do, reshaping industries again and again. The common thread is not luck, but the thought that says, "I am not finished, I can become more." Living by this seventh thought also means thinking long-term, because your best self is not built overnight. It is built through decades of choices, reflections, and persistence. It means asking, what kind of legacy do I want to leave? What version of myself will I be proud of when I look back years from now? This perspective lifts you above the noise of daily distractions and keeps your thoughts directed toward growth. Practical application matters here. When you face choices, filter them through the question, does this bring me closer to my best self? If the thought says yes, move forward. If it says no, adjust. Over time, these micro-decisions compound into a life that reflects your highest potential. Remember that no one else can define your best self for you. It is not about being a copy of anyone else, but about becoming fully you, the version that is courageous, disciplined, compassionate, and alive to possibility. The thought that fuels this is simple. I can be more than I was yesterday. Repeat it, believe it, live it, and you will become the person you were meant to be.
You have now walked through 7 powerful thoughts, and while they may sound simple when spoken, they carry within them the capacity to transform everything about your life if you choose to live them, not just hear them. The first thought showed you that nothing is more powerful than the content of your own mind, because every action, every habit, every success and failure begins with a single thought, and the one who masters their thoughts masters their destiny. The second reminded you that you always have a choice to lift yourself higher, to rise above despair, to replace "I can't" with "I can." And in that choice lies your resilience, your momentum, and your hope. The third revealed that positive change is never built on willpower alone, but on shaping new thoughts that support the new identity you want to live into, and that without changing the inner story, the outer life will always collapse back to the old patterns. The fourth taught you that obstacles are not there to stop you, but to train you, to build strength, patience, and resilience, and that every challenge is secretly a stepping stone if you adopt the thought that turns it into one. The fifth reminded you that happiness is not a destination you stumble upon when conditions are perfect, but a discipline of gratitude, presence, and perspective that you can choose daily, even in imperfect circumstances, because joy grows where you plant it. The sixth showed you that success without fulfillment is hollow, and that the true definition of success must come from alignment with your values and your purpose, so that every step you take feeds not only your ambition, but your soul. And the seventh carried you to the summit, reminding you that the highest calling of all is to become your best self, not perfect, not flawless, not better than anyone else, but fully you. The version of you that is courageous, disciplined, compassionate, and alive to possibility. These 7 thoughts together are not just principles, they are a map, a framework for living a life of strength, meaning, and joy. And the choice now rests with you. You can let these words pass like any other, nodding in agreement and then slipping back into old patterns. Or you can let them take root in your mind, repeating them, reflecting on them, practicing them until they become your natural way of thinking. That is how change happens, gradually at first, invisibly at first, then powerfully, undeniably, and permanently. Remember that life is not determined by what happens to you, but by the story you tell yourself about what happens. And these 7 thoughts are the stories that will empower you rather than weaken you. The storms of life will come, no one escapes them. But if your mind is trained, if your thoughts are strong, then no storm can sink you. The doubts of others will whisper, the criticisms will come, but if your inner voice is louder, if it speaks of resilience, gratitude, alignment, and growth, then no outside noise can drown you. This is why your thoughts matter more than anything, because they are the one thing no one else can control. They are your fortress, your compass, your weapon, and your light. So guard them, feed them, direct them, and live by them. Because when you do, you will discover that you were never powerless, you were never stuck, you were never broken. You were simply waiting to master the incredible strength already within you. Carry these thoughts with you. Return to them when you falter. Remind yourself of them when you doubt, and commit to them when you feel like giving up, because they will always lift you back to the path of your best life. The world does not need another copy, another person living small, another life half-lived. The world needs the full expression of your best self, and that self begins in your thoughts. Choose them well, repeat them often, live them daily, and you will rise higher than you ever dreamed possible.